I'm Lily, and this is a story that'll chill you to the bone. In our dim Chicago kitchen, my mom, Karen, barked, "Lily, check Emma's mouth. If she doesn't swallow the pills, she'll turn into a monster." At 12, I trembled as I pried open my 15-year-old sister's mouth, seeing 3 white pills like deadly bullets. What's scarier, a monster in your house or the mother you love? Emma was my light, teaching me to draw, making me laugh. But Mom said she was sick, some disorder turning her into a stranger. I had to force those pills down her throat daily because Mom said it saved her. But Emma didn't seem sick, and Mom didn't seem like a savior. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. That's when I knew. To save Emma, I had to face the real monster, right in our home. Stick around, because this story will glue you to the screen. Like, share, sub to uncover the truth. I'm Lily, and if you thought my story about my mom, Karen, was chilling, just wait for what comes next. Before it all turned into a nightmare, Emma was everything to me. She wasn't just my sister, she was my best friend, turning rainy Chicago days into adventures. Emma taught me to draw fire-breathing dragons, helped me tackle tough math problems, and had jokes that made my stomach hurt from laughing. She was my light, the reason I felt safe in this house. But then, everything changed. When Emma was 15, Mom started saying she was sick. Not a cold or fever, but something scarier, a dangerous behavioral disorder. Mom never explained clearly, just said if Emma didn't take her pills, she'd become a threat to the family. I was only 12, too young to understand, but old enough to see Mom's eyes turn icy when she spoke of Emma. She told me I had to make sure Emma swallowed 3 white pills daily. "Lily," she said, voice hard as steel, "check her mouth. Not 1 pill left. If you fail, Emma will hurt herself. And you." I hated that job. Every morning, I stood before Emma, staring into her hollow eyes, prying her mouth open like she was a puppet. The pills sat on her tongue, and I had to be sure none remained. Emma didn't fight, didn't speak, just looked at me with eyes begging for help. I felt like a traitor, but Mom was always there, watching, leaving me no choice. "Good job, Lily," she'd say, patting my shoulder, but her smile never reached her eyes. I started noticing weird things. Emma didn't seem sick. Before the pills, she went to school, played basketball, argued with Mom about dyeing her hair green. But months into the meds, Emma's life drained away. She stopped drawing, stopped laughing, barely noticed me when I called her name. Once I tried telling one of her old jokes, hoping for that smile again, but she just stared, blank, like I was a stranger. I asked Mom, "What's really wrong with Emma?" She frowned, snapping, "Don't ask things you don't need to know. Do your job." Doubts crept in. If the pills helped Emma, why was she worse? Why didn't Mom take her to a real doctor instead of this guy Paul, a self-proclaimed doctor whose office was in a run-down strip mall? I noticed how Mom looked at Emma, not with worry, but with hate, like she was a burden. One night, I overheard Mom whispering on the phone, "She's getting more like him every day. I can't stand it." Him? I didn't know, but Mom's voice was so cold it made me shiver. That night, I couldn't sleep. Emma's dazed face, Mom's icy stare, those white pills haunted me. Something was off, deeply off. Emma wasn't a monster. She was my sister. And if Mom was lying, I had to find the truth, no matter how terrifying it was. I'm Lily, and this is when everything in our Chicago house started to crumble. Emma, my sister, was no longer the radiant light she used to be. The pills Mom, Karen, forced her to take had turned her into a shadow, a puppet with empty eyes. But one night, at 2 a.m., my bedroom door creaked open. Emma stumbled in, her voice quivering like it might break. "Lily," she whispered, "I need you to believe me. Those pills, they're killing my mind. My brain feels like fog, like I'm not me anymore. Tears streamed down her face and my heart felt crushed. This was Emma, who taught me to draw dragons, who always made me laugh. I couldn't say no. I nodded, trembling with fear. Okay, Emma, I'll help you. And a faint smile flickered across her face. Then she slipped out. The next morning, when Mom told me to check Emma's mouth, I saw 3 white pills tucked under her tongue. My heart pounded, but I pretended nothing was there. All done, Mom, I said, forcing my voice steady. Mom nodded, her eyes sharp as knives. I knew I'd just stepped into a dangerous game. For the first few days, nothing changed. Emma stayed sluggish, quiet, like the pills still gripped her. But after 2 weeks, I saw her light return. She smiled more, that Chicago sun after rain kind of smile. One night, we sat on my bedroom floor, giggling until 5 a.m., like we used to. Emma told funny stories, and I felt my sister was back. Thank you, Lily, she said, hugging me tight. I feel alive again. But that joy didn't last. One morning, Mom burst into the room. Emma, she screamed, voice slicing like a blade. Are you taking your pills? Emma tried to act dazed, but it was too late. Mom's eyes narrowed, stepping closer, her fist clenched. Don't lie to me, she hissed. Emma nodded, but her body shook, and I knew she was scared. Mom turned to me, her gaze piercing. Lily, do you know anything? I shook my head, throat dry. The next morning, Emma didn't come down for breakfast. She's sick, Mom said, avoiding my eyes. When I brought Emma's favorite chocolate milk to her room, I found her on the bed, staring at the wall, motionless. Emma, I called, but she didn't answer. Mom appeared behind me. She attacked me this morning, she said, her voice eerily calm. I had to up her dose to 7 pills. See, Lily? Without them, she's a monster. Mom lifted her shirt, revealing angry red scratches on her back. She's gone mad. If you want to stay safe, keep your distance. I froze, fear surging like a wave. Emma, my sister, who laughed with me last night. Could she do that? I didn't want to believe it, but the scratches screamed guilt. From that day, Emma wasn't Emma anymore. She didn't speak, didn't go to school, couldn't even bathe herself. She became a hollow shell, completely dependent on Mom. Every time I saw her, my heart tore apart. I started wondering, was I wrong to help her skip the pills? Or was something far worse happening in this house? I'm Lily, and this is when I uncovered the horrifying truth hidden in our Chicago home. Emma, my sister, once my closest friend, was now a shadow, transformed by the pills Mom, Karen, forced her to take. After Mom upped Emma's dose to 7 pills, my sister collapsed completely. She stopped smiling, stopped talking, just stared at the wall with hollow eyes. I was terrified, blaming myself for helping her skip the pills. But deep down, something felt wrong. Mom didn't seem like she was saving Emma. She seemed like she was hiding something. One night, with Mom out, I decided to find answers. I snuck into the basement, a place she'd forbidden me to enter. In the damp darkness, among dusty boxes, I found a locked wooden chest. Using a hairpin Emma taught me to pick locks with, I pried it open. Inside was Emma's diary, crumpled pages filled with shaky handwriting. Mom hates me because I'm like Dad, she wrote. Dad didn't die in that house fire by accident. I saw Mom mix something into his coffee that morning. My heart stopped. Dad died when I was 2, and Mom always said it was an accident. But Emma's words cut like a knife. I kept reading, my blood freezing. Emma wrote that Mom and Dr. Paul had a secret relationship, that Paul wasn't a real doctor, and they made money labeling her a research patient. I trembled as I flipped to the last page. I'm scared. If Mom knows I remember what happened to Dad, I'll never get out. The diary stopped the day before Mom increased her dose. My legs nearly gave out. Emma wasn't crazy. Mom was deliberately harming her to cover up a crime. I knew I needed more proof. The next day, Mom took me to see Dr. Paul at his seedy strip mall office. I brought my old iPod, once used for recording songs, and hit record in my pocket. Paul, with a fake smile, sat close to Mom, their knees touching. "Lily," he said, his voice sickeningly sweet. "Your mom's worried you might end up like your sister. This disorder runs in families, you know." Mom nodded, gripping Paul's hand. "We need to start Lily on meds just to be safe," she said, her eyes glinting. I played along, but my heart raced as Paul told Mom, "Keep the dose like Emma's. It'll make her easier to manage." Back home, I replayed the recording. Though the audio was fuzzy, I caught Mom whispering to Paul, "She's asking about her dad. We need to do something before she remembers." Paul replied, "The meds will handle it, like with Emma." My blood ran cold. They weren't just poisoning Emma, they planned to do it to me too. I crept into Mom's room, finding a stack of medical papers in her desk drawer. Paul's signatures varied wildly, like he was hiding something. One document labeled Behavioral Research listed Emma's name with a note. Subject stable. Payment $10,000. Month. The truth hit like a punch. Mom wasn't just manipulating Emma. She was selling her to a twisted scheme for cash. And now, I was next. I sat in the dark, clutching Emma's diary, fear and rage burning inside. I had to save her, save myself. But confronting Mom, the woman I once thought was my world, was the scariest thing I'd ever face. I'm Lily. And this is when I realized my mom, Karen, wasn't just a controlling mother. She was a ruthless manipulator, ready to destroy Emma and me to hide her crimes. Our Chicago house was no longer a safe haven, but a dark trap. After finding Emma's diary and hearing Dr. Paul's recording, I knew Mom was poisoning my sister to silence her, and now she was targeting me. But the truth was worse than I imagined. One afternoon, when Mom handed me a glass of orange juice, I noticed a strange, bitter taste, like the pills Emma was forced to take. I faked a sip, holding the liquid in my mouth, then ran to the bathroom to spit it out. My heart raced as I later checked the kitchen pantry. Hidden in a sugar canister, I found a small vial of white pills, identical to Emma's, ground into powder. Mom wasn't just forcing pills down our throats. She was spiking our food, our drinks, even my favorite chocolate chip cookies. Every bite in this house was a trap. My stomach churned, not from the drugs, but from betrayal. The mother I trusted was trying to turn me into a puppet, like Emma. That night, I snuck into Mom's room, determined to find more evidence. In her closet, buried under a pile of sweaters, I found a notebook, her diary. My hands shook as I flipped through it. She wrote about Dr. Paul's research, how she got $10,000 a month for Emma and planned to double it once I joined. One line froze me. "Emma's too much like her father. It drives me crazy. Paul says the drugs will keep her quiet forever. Lily's easier. She trusts me." My blood turned to ice. Mom didn't just sell us. She hated Emma for resembling Dad, the man she poisoned in that house fire years ago. But the real nightmare hit the next morning. I woke up to find Emma gone from her room. Mom said she was gravely ill and taken to Paul's special treatment facility. I pressed for details, but Mom just stared, her eyes sharp as blades. "Don't be nosy, Lily. Emma did something stupid. She tried to burn Paul's files." I was stunned. Emma, even drugged, had fought back. But then, checking my old phone, I saw a message from an unknown number. Stay quiet, or Emma's gone for good. Attached was a photo of Emma on a hospital bed, IV lines in her arms, eyes shut. It felt like a knife at my throat. They weren't just holding her, they were threatening her life. I knew I couldn't keep pretending. Mom and Paul were tightening the noose. I noticed how Mom watched me eat, how she checked my room every night. Once, I found a tiny camera hidden in my bookshelf, recording my every move. Mom didn't just want control, she wanted to ensure I'd never escape. But my anger outgrew my fear. Emma had fought, and I would too. I carefully hid Mom's diary and a screenshot of the threatening message on a USB, stashed in an old pair of sneakers. Each night, I lay in bed, faking sleep, my mind racing to save Emma. Confronting Mom was the scariest thing I'd ever imagined, but staying silent meant letting my sister die in their hands. I had to act, and I had to do it now. I'm Lily, and this is when I knew I had to break the chains Mom, Karen, had wrapped around Emma and me. Our Chicago house was now a prison, with Mom and Dr. Paul as the wardens. Emma, my sister, was taken to a special treatment facility after fighting back, and the threatening message, "Emma's gone for good," with her photo unconscious on a hospital bed, left me no time to hesitate. Mom wasn't just poisoning us with pills, she was selling our souls for cash. I had evidence: Emma's diary, Mom's notebook, Paul's recording, the threatening text. But holding it wasn't enough. I had to act to save Emma and myself. I couldn't stay in that house a second longer. Mom had cameras in my room, watched every bite I ate, every step I took. Each night, I faked sleep, my heart pounding as I heard her creep in to check on me. I remembered Mrs. Susan, a retired neighborhood cop a few blocks away. Emma once said she was trustworthy, still connected to the police. If anyone could help, it was her. That night, with Mom out meeting Paul, I moved. I stuffed the USB with evidence into my sneakers, threw on a hoodie, and slipped out. The front door was locked, but Emma had taught me to crawl through the vent during childhood hide-and-seek games. I squeezed through the tight, dusty vent, sweat pouring, my heartbeat thundering in the dark. Outside, I sprinted through Chicago's wet alleys, dim streetlights catching my terrified face. At Mrs. Susan's, I pounded on her door at midnight, gasping. "Lily," she answered, eyes wide. "What are you doing here?" I burst into tears, everything spilling out. I told her about the pills, Emma's kidnapping, Mom's diary, Paul's scheme. Handing her the USB, my voice shook. "You have to help me. They'll kill Emma if I don't do something." Mrs. Susan listened, her face growing grim. She reviewed the evidence, then called an FBI contact. "Stay here, Lily," she said, voice firm. "You're safe now." But Mom didn't give up easily. An hour later, she showed up at Susan's door, screaming. "Lily's in there, I know it. She's sick, Susan. She needs meds. She's dangerous." Mom tried shoving the door, her eyes wild like a predator's. Susan stood firm, her voice calm but sharp. "Go home, Karen. The FBI's coming. They want to talk about Paul and your pill stash." Mom's face paled, but she kept yelling. "You're kidnapping my kid. I'll sue." Susan gave a cold smile. "Call the cops, Karen. Bet they'd love to hear about your $10,000 a month from fake research." When FBI sirens wailed, Mom panicked and tried to bolt, but two agents grabbed her on the street. They cuffed her, and through the window, I saw her glare at me. Pure hatred, like she wanted to swallow me whole. I trembled, but Susan held my hand tight. "You did the right thing, Lily. Emma would be proud." For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. I'd escaped, and now it was time to save Emma. But I knew the fight wasn't over. Mom and Paul might be caught, but their dark network lingered, and Emma was still trapped somewhere. I'm Lily, And after escaping our prison of a house in Chicago, I found light at the end of the tunnel. My mom, Karen, was arrested by the FBI, thanks to Mrs. Susan and the evidence I brought. But Emma, my sister, was still trapped in Dr. Paul's special treatment facility. Fear of losing her forever drove me forward. Thankfully, the FBI moved fast. Armed with Mom's diary and Paul's recording, they raided the facility 2 days later. I'll never forget the moment they called Mrs. Susan, the agent's voice crackling through the speaker. "We found Emma. She's alive." Emma was rushed to a real hospital in downtown Chicago, where doctors began detoxing her. When I walked into her room, my heart broke. She lay there, gaunt, skin pale. But when she opened her eyes and saw me, a faint smile crossed her lips. "Lily," she whispered, voice hoarse. "You did it." I grabbed her hand, tears streaming. She was still there. Still my Emma, despite the pills stealing so much. The weeks that followed were a healing journey. Emma underwent treatment to flush the toxins. Doctors said she'd been given antipsychotics at 3 times a safe dose, not for illness, but to make her a hollow shell. Yet each day I saw her come back a little. She started drawing again, fire-breathing dragons reappearing on paper. One evening, she pulled me onto the hospital balcony, pointing at Chicago's glowing skyline. "You saved me, Lily," she said, voice choking. "I never thought I'd see this world again." We moved in with Aunt Rachel, our dad's sister, in a quiet Chicago suburb. Unlike Mom, Aunt Rachel listened, trusted us, never forced us to do anything against our will. With her, we learned to trust again. Though Emma still hesitated at meals, fearing drugs in her food, I changed too. I wasn't the scared kid who believed Mom's every word anymore. I joined the school debate team, sharing our story to warn about medical abuse in families. My first speech, my voice shook, but as I spoke of Emma, how her youth was stolen for Mom's greed, I felt strength rise. The audience went silent, then erupted in applause. I knew I was doing the right thing. Meanwhile, Emma and I found a community, a support group for victims of fake medical research, like Paul's. We met people like Sarah, a 16-year-old forced by her mom to take pills for a non-existent violent disorder, or Michael, who lost 2 years of memories to similar drugs. In our online meetings, we shared pain but also fueled each other's strength. Emma, still frail, spoke more, recounting how she wrote her diary to stay sane amid the pills. "We're not victims," she said in one meeting. "We're survivors." Her words lit a fire, sparking hope in me. Living with Aunt Rachel, Emma and I slowly reclaimed ourselves. I learned to bake chocolate chip cookies without fear of poison. Emma returned to school, repeating a year, but not caring. Thinking, feeling. "That's something I thought I'd never have again," she said. Every small step, a drawing, a smile, a fearless day was a victory. But I know, even with light breaking through, Mom and Paul's darkness lingers somewhere. Our fight isn't over, and I have to be stronger than ever to protect Emma and others from monsters disguised as family. I'm Lily, and just when I thought we'd reclaim the light, the darkness from our past surged back, threatening to drag Emma and me into the nightmare again. After Mom, Karen, was arrested by the FBI, and Emma was rescued from Dr. Paul's treatment facility, I believed we were safe. We lived with Aunt Rachel in a quiet Chicago suburb, learning to trust again, rebuilding our lives step by step. Emma started drawing, and I found strength through school speeches about medical abuse. But then a bombshell hit. Mom was up for parole after less than a year in prison. Her claim, she was Paul's victim, manipulated by love and desperation. I couldn't believe it. Mom, who spiked our cookies with drugs, who sold us for $10,000 a month, was now rewriting herself as innocent. But what stopped my heart was waking at 3 a.m. to odd noises downstairs. I crept down, finding the living room window pried open and my laptop, holding all evidence against Mom and Paul, gone. On the table, a handwritten note, "Stay quiet, or Emma pays." I shook, feeling Mom's eyes on us, even from behind bars. The next morning, Emma acted strange. She refused breakfast, eyes wild with panic. "Lily, I smelled pills in the bread," she whispered, though Aunt Rachel bought it fresh. That night, I found Emma in the kitchen, burning every item in the fridge, sobbing. "I can't take it," she cried, voice breaking. "What if they poison me again?" Her fear of being drugged had returned, a wound that never healed. I held her, promising to protect her, but my heart sank. Mom, even in jail, was still strangling us. Days later, a strange woman approached me at the park near our house, introducing herself as Paul's ex-wife. She looked worn, eyes heavy with regret. "I'm Ellen," she said, handing me a thick envelope. "Paul conned me, like he did your mom. This lists 20 other families he targeted. You need it to stop him." I opened it, finding names, addresses, and notes on kids turned into research subjects like Emma. One name chilled me, a 13-year-old Chicago girl currently treated by a doctor with a profile eerily like Paul's. This wasn't just Mom and Paul. Their criminal web was bigger, deeper, and still active. Ellen gripped my hand, voice trembling. "I didn't know until Paul's arrest, but I have a daughter, and if anyone did this to her..." She trailed off, tears falling. "You and Emma laptop, now this list." It all screamed danger. Our fight was far from over. Back home, I hid the envelope under my bedroom floorboards, unable to sleep. Emma battled her fears while I faced a criminal network beyond my imagination. Mom might be in prison, but her and Paul's reach lingered through others, through threats. I knew I had to act, but this time it wasn't just about saving Emma. I had to save other kids still being poisoned in the shadows. I'm Lily, and this is when things got more dangerous than ever. My mom, Karen, was up for parole while Emma and I faced threats from ghosts of our past. My laptop with evidence was stolen. Emma's fear of poisoning resurfaced, and Ellen's list of 20 victimized families showed the criminal network was bigger than I thought. But when I learned Paul hired a hitman to deal with us before Mom's hearing, I knew I had to act fast, or lose everything. It started with an anonymous email, a blurry security video showing a man in black sneaking into Aunt Rachel's house, stealing my laptop. At the station to give the FBI time to track him. "Why's Paul scared of me?" I asked, voice shaky but firm. He pocket like he was reaching for something. But before he could move, FBI agents surged from the crowd, pinning him. "Don't move!" one shouted, cuffing him. In his pocket, they found a knife and a phone with texts from Paul, ordering, "Eliminate Lily before the hearing." That night, I hacked Paul's email, a trick Emma taught me from childhood pranks. I found threads between Paul and a group called Advanced Medicine Council. Catch a Hitman. It cracked open the door to dismantling Paul's network, but I knew Mom's hearing would be the final battle. I had to face her, armed with every truth I'd risked. Stop. I'm Lily, and this is when I faced my mom, Karen, in the final battle to protect Emma and deliver justice. After trapping Paul's hitman and hacking his emails, I held undeniable evidence. Paul ran a medical mafia, and Mom was a willing accomplice, not a victim. Her parole hearing in a Chicago courtroom was my chance to expose it all. I knew if she walked free, Emma and I would never be safe. That morning, but her eyes razor sharp, like she could devour me. Her lawyer painted her as a I love Lily and Emma. I followed the doctor to save them. Additives in his coffee, causing him to lose control and die in a house fire. She did it because he found out about her affair with Paul. The room went silent. Mom flinched, face paling. I pressed on, presenting evidence. Her diary detailing the $10,000 monthly payments for turning Emma into a researcher. Emma stood. Though frail, her voice was steel. When I was 5, Mom tried to strangle me in my room because I asked about Dad. She called me a mistake for looking like him. Paul saved her by putting me on drugs. Emma choked up, but her gaze never left Mom. She didn't love us. She loved money and Paul. Mom screamed, trying to interrupt, but the judge ordered silence. I finished with the latest threat, received a day before the hearing. Stop talking, or Emma has an accident. I stared at Mom, unwavering. She's never been sorry. Even from prison, she tried controlling us with fear. She doesn't deserve freedom. The board sat silent, but their eyes shifted from doubt to belief. Finally, the judge ruled, parole denied. Mom was sentenced to life for Dad's manslaughter, child abuse, and aiding a medical mafia. As she was led away, her hateful glare met mine, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd shattered her lies. Emma hugged me in the courthouse hall, sobbing. "You did it, Lily," she said. "We're free." But this victory wasn't just ours. The FBI, using my emails, expanded their probe, arresting 7 more fake doctors in Paul's network. Dozens of kids were freed. I know, though Mom and Paul lost, the fight against medical abuse is far from over. But I'm not alone anymore. Emma's by my side, and we have a community of survivors ready to speak out. I'm Lily, and after facing my mom, Karen, at her parole hearing, Emma and I finally secured justice. Mom was sentenced to life. Dr. Paul's medical mafia was exposed, and dozens of kids were freed. But our story didn't end with a courtroom win. It sparked a greater mission, a fire Emma and I vowed to keep burning. We're not just survivors, we're warriors determined to ensure no child endures what we did. Post-trial, Emma and I launched a nationwide campaign. #Truth Heals. We started in Chicago, then spread to other cities, speaking at schools, conferences, and TV shows. I shared how I found Emma's diary, trapped Paul's hitman, and shattered Mom's lies. Emma, her smile slowly returning, spoke of her recovery, the days she thought she'd never escape the drug-induced fog. Each story inspired thousands. A 14-year-old girl from Ohio reached out, saying our video gave her courage to report her mom for forcing her on meds. "You gave me bravery," she wrote, and I cried reading it. We built an online community where survivors and their families share stories and support each other. Our group now has over 5,000 members, from kids abused by medical scams to parents tricked into compliance. Emma, pursuing psychology, began counseling victims, helping them overcome fears of poisoning. I kept speaking, pushing for policies mandating stricter oversight of doctors prescribing to kids. A proposed Illinois law, Emma's Law, requires a second, independent doctor's opinion before prescribing antipsychotics to those under 18. Every step forward is a victory, but we know the fight's long. Emma and I have a message for you. Don't fear the truth. Even if you're a kid, even if you feel no one will believe you, speak up. Truth is your strongest weapon, and you deserve to be heard, protected. We urge you to share your story with #Truth Heals, breaking the silence together. Like, share, subscribe to spread this message so no child suffers in the dark. Life lesson. Our fight taught me 3 things. First, trust your gut. If something feels wrong, like Mom forcing Emma's pills, don't ignore it. Second, document everything. Emma's diary, my recordings, saved us. Finally, never give up, no matter how manipulated or threatened you are. In life, verify doctors' claims, seek second opinions, and defend your right to safety. You're stronger than you know, and truth always finds the light. Emma and I live with Aunt Rachel now, eating poison-free dinners, laughing like normal girls. But we never forget what we lost, and we won't stop fighting for others. We're a fire that won't fade, and we invite you to light up the world with us. Say it together. Truth heals.